supposed to be able to discern what spirit is what and what it is doing or what is going on in the spirit, essentially. So yeah, you function heavily in that gift. I was just trying to explain how that gift can show itself in your day-to-day life. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new, you are absolutely welcome. So in today's video, we are just going to be doing a continuation of the teaching on the school of the Watchman Prophet. If you're just seeing this video for the first time or you're seeing me for the first time, I suggest you go back to last week's video so that you kind of get the foundation of what we are doing here and where we are going. Okay, so in last week's video, we just did like a basic introduction of who a watchman prophet is, why God is calling the watchman prophet, especially in this hour, and what their main functions are. I'm pretty sure I didn't really exhaust the whole functionality or the whole areas in which a watchman prophet functions in, but I did touch on the main functions of a watchman prophet, because some of these things, they kind of tend to differ or become unique as you function in the jurisdiction of your witness. So it's not just like a generalized mantle. It will be tailor-made, or you will be tailor-made according to where you will be called to witness, right? So in today's video, we are going to be talking about some of the signs or the markers that highlight that God is calling you to be a watchman prophet for your family. So these markers, it's not like they are, again, an exhaustive list, but just a disclaimer. As we go down some of these signs, you cannot have like one of them and not have the other. You can have some of these things, but it does not necessarily equate to God calling you to be a watchman prophet for your family. But definitely, if you see like all of these things that I'm going to list in a few seconds, you will actually see that they talk to each other, they marry each other. So at the end of the day, they work together just to ensure that you function in that office as efficiently as God called you to be. Okay, so the first sign that God might be calling you to be a watchman prophet for your family is God expressly told you. So in Ezekiel 3 and in Ezekiel 33, we see that God expressly calls Ezekiel and actually tells him, "Son of man, I've called you to be a watchman for the house of Israel," right? So God just came to him showing forth his glory, and he expressly told Ezekiel that he was now commissioning him to be a watchman prophet for the nation of Israel. So that could be a marker in and itself. That would just conclude every other matter. Every other thing may follow. You may start to see yourself maybe exhibit some of these characteristics or markers, but this one, if the Lord just expressly tells you, then that's a done deal. Okay, that one is just like, there's no explanation to it, there's no elaboration to it. God just expressly calls you to that office. So the scriptures I noted here are Ezekiel 3:17 and Ezekiel 33:7, and it says, Ezekiel 3:17 says, "Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel. Therefore, hear a word from my mouth and give them warning from me." So yeah, God expressly tells you. And the second marker is this, that God has brought to your attention or is starting to bring to your attention some negative generational patterns in your family. So like we said, with the Watchman prophetic mantle, especially within the family, it functions to bring order where there is chaos, right? So God will start highlighting some negative patterns in your family, things that you just start questioning and just being like, you know what, this is not normal. Like, this is not the way things are supposed to go. Like in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit, you just start to just question some things. You just start being dissatisfied with some things. You just start getting vexed with some things, in the sense that you can't help but question and want to do something about it, right? So it could be anything from maybe near success syndrome, like, people work so hard, but they don't eat the fruit of their labor. Like, there are situations where you're just like, this person works hard, or in our family, we work hard. We should be reaping the fruits, right, of our labor, but it just feels like there's a limitation, right? Like there's a ceiling that has been placed on your family, or almost like there are chains to your hands, that there are certain things you can do, but you can only go a certain distance. So that could be an example. It could also be something about maybe delay in your family, like it's almost like it's chronic, it's perpetual. It could be, early deaths. It could be divorces in your family, just a lack of, good, healthy marriages. It could be having children out of wedlock. Like, you look at everybody, maybe in your family, extended family, everything, everybody has had children out of wedlock. Like, so you start noticing these things, and these things, it's not like a matter of passive observance, but you are moved. It actually vexes your spirit to the point where you're like, no, this has to stop. Like, there is a better way, and we're going to find a better way, and we're going to institute that better way. So if you see yourself like just getting vexed, and you're noticing some things, and then you just have that urge and urgency to actually be like, we are going to do something about this, that could also be a heavy marker that God is calling you to be a watchman prophet for your family. Okay. And another marker we are going to be talking about, which is actually very heavy, is that you function weightily in the gift of discerning spirits. Again, it ties to the second one I mentioned, because there's no way sometimes you can see these things, because some of these things, they are normalized, right? Like, say divorce. We are living in a world where divorce is almost deemed normal, right? So it could just be a thing of like, you can easily dismiss it as, ugh, people were not compatible, things like that. Or even a pattern of heartbrokenness. You just be like, oh, life happens, people are responsible for their decisions, things like that. But it takes the gift of discerning spirits to be like, no, there's a spirit behind this. There's a spirit entity, a demonic spirit entity behind this. And that is what moves you to want to just destroy the hold, or any legal hold that demonic spirit might have. But it takes a discerning spirit for you to actually notice that this is demonic activity that has been happening maybe for generations. There's been like a familiar spirit that's been jumping from one bloodline to from one generation to another, right? So you function heavily in the gift of discerning spirits. And in that jurisdiction of your family, yes, but it can function and show itself even in your day-to-day life, right? Like, you can tell just by how you're able to see the heart behind people. So that is just the basis of even the gift of discerning of spirits, is the ability to see people's hearts. So you can just tell, we're not talking about suspicion here, or just kind of giving people side eye. No, just being like, hey, suspect. No, that's not what we are talking about. The gift of the discerning of spirits, it sees the heart of a person. It sees the heart behind the words. It sees the motive behind the action. Like, it's almost like a switch is on, almost like it's automatic. You can't really explain it, but you just know, right? You're just able to tell. And this is not even just in that negative sense that you'll be like, oh, this person is smiling at me, but they don't like me. Or this person is doing this, but they are a witch. No, that's just not what it is about. It can be a thing of, even you're talking to someone, right? And they're laughing and they're smiling, but you can tell that, this person is carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. And you being concerned enough to really maybe dig deep and ask them how they are doing, or how you can pray for them, And maybe, I don't know, even if it's just a hug, all those things, you are able to tell, like, maybe somebody's really going through an emotional situation, and that moves you to do something about it. Again, the gift of discerning of spirits, when you are not well trained in it, it can be tricky to handle, because with the revelation that you get, sometimes you don't know what to do with it. Okay, so this is just like a bonus here, because this is something that I had to learn. For the longest time, I would be like, Lord, how do I handle this gift? Because I don't know how to handle it. And it took years. It really, really took years for God to be like, I'm not a gossip. Okay, I don't gossip. If I'm showing you something, or if I'm telling you something that somebody is going through, it's because I'm trusting you to intercede, or step into prayer for that person. Okay, so it's because it's a gift that reveals, so that there can be some type of redemption, so that you can step in and intercede if that is what God is calling you to do. That in and itself, yes, it definitely calls you to intercession for sure, because even for the people who don't like you or who are seeking your ruin, God calls you to love your enemies. And though we cannot really love our enemies, like maybe expressly, outwardly, we can love them in prayer. And then we can now move to loving them outwardly. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it does reveal itself. That gift reveals itself in your day to day. You could be in a room full of people, and you are able to tell, like, what this person said, there's a lot behind what they're saying. And yes, you can spot fake people, it's part of it, but what I'm just saying is, you cannot really minimalize that gift to that extent, because all spiritual gifts given by the Holy Spirit are for the benefit of the body. They are not for you. Essentially, they are not for you. They will benefit you, but you are given spiritual gift to benefit the body. So how that gift works is mainly, you are always in the gap. You see something, you are supposed to do something about it. Whether it's in prayer, mostly it's actually in prayer, because God is just revealing that maybe like something you need to do, or maybe what somebody is going through. It's not all the time that you're supposed to go talk to them about it, or go to talk to somebody else about it. It's a gift where God is entrusting you with people's hearts as well, mainly because it's for the benefit of the body. But I'm just talking about how generally this gift functions. But now bringing it back to what we are talking about, the Watchman Prophet mantle, you function in that because you do need to spot demonic spirits. You do need to discern spirits, because part of the function of a Watchman Prophet is you work as a spy. You work as a tracker in the spirit. You are supposed to be able to track the movement of the glory of God. It's in Ezekiel. You're supposed to be able to track angelic movement. You're supposed to be able to track demonic movement. So you are supposed to be able to discern what spirit is what, and what it is doing, or what is going on in the spirit, essentially. So yeah, you function heavily in that gift. I was just trying to explain how that gift can show itself in your day-to-day life, and hopefully I've done a good job of doing that. Okay, so the other marker that we are going to talk about, I believe is the fourth one, is that you have been waking up, like God has been waking you up at night at a very specific hour, like constantly. When God is raising you or nudging you to be a watchman prophet, that's one of the first things he does. If he does not tell you expressly, this is one of the things that he does. And it happens for years. it will happen and happen. This is not just something that will happen maybe over the course of 2 or 3 days where God is calling you to just intercede for a certain person or regarding a certain issue. This is how God trains you. Like, it happens for years. It can happen, but that's how it starts. So maybe he starts waking you up at 12 midnight or 3 a.m. So the night watches are from 12 midnight to 6 a.m. So he can be waking you up at a specific hour continually between those hours, any hour between those hours. So maybe you notice that he's waking you up maybe consistently 2 a.m., 2 a.m., 2 a.m., or 3 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 a.m. And the most people talk about is 3 a.m. Like, most people talk about God calling them or nudging them or waking them up at 3 a.m. And usually that is how it starts. When God is training you, especially within that mantle and to be watching, he mainly starts with the 3 a.m. watch, the 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. watch. So you can be waking up between 3 and 6, mostly when he's starting. Why? Because I feel like, like the 3 a.m. watch has to do with counteraction. It has to do with countering what the enemy has done between 12 and 3. So 3 to 6, you are making declarations, almost like you're pushing back, right? Almost like you're on the defense. 12 to 3, you are the attacker. Okay, so I feel like God will not, there's a reason why God starts you at 3 a.m., from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., because he can't start you with you being an attacker, because you have to be built up first, because the 12 to 3 is the warring hour. Like, you are warring. Overnight watches, yes, it's war, but the dimension of war between 3 and 6 is different from the dimension of war from 12 midnight to 3 a.m. 3 a.m., 12 midnight to 3 a.m., God can be telling you, take ground. So you're actually the one attacking. You see, so for you to be the one doing the attack, you actually have to be built up to be able to do that. Like, there are levels to this. Okay, there are levels to this. So if you notice that, or if you're noticing that God is specifically waking you up mostly 3 a.m., between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., it could be that, he's stirring up that mantle within you. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, that the mantle of the Watchman Prophet, it can be dormant in a generation for years. It only awakens if somebody willingly takes it up. So if somebody is not willing to take up that mantle, it can just be dormant for generations, for years, but it gets stirred up per generation until somebody actually rises up and takes it up. So those are some of the small steerings. One of those small steerings is like, yeah, God is calling you to wake up with him and watch with him, because so much happens at night. As you progress with your training and with your walk in the Lord, as you progress in this mantle, you will be functioning in basically every other watch as well, because you're on call. And you do have shifts, like you work according to shifts. So sometimes God can actually let you sleep throughout the nights, depending on what's happening, okay? He's a good boss. He's a very good boss. But you also function on call. You work on call. Okay, so if it's 12 midnight and you're needed, God can wake you up. If it's 12 midday and you're needed, God can wake you up. If it's 3 p.m., if it's 3 p.m., God can still wake you up. And by wake you up, I just mean that nudge to be like, yo, it's a summon. You are needed. Because things are constantly happening in the spirit, right? There could be a court session going on and you're needed to legislate. So it's almost like as time moves on, you're just sensitized to the summons of the Spirit or the summons of the Holy Ghost, which we'll talk about. There's a whole lot to this Watchman Prophet mantle, and it's fascinating. But for now, we're just starting with the basics. So night watches, and we'll talk about the watches at some point. But Basically, maybe that one. God has been waking you up around 3 a.m., between 3 a.m. and 6. But I mean, depending on the jurisdiction of your witness or where you're going to end up, God might start you off at 12 midnight to 3 a.m. Who knows? I wouldn't know. I just know that it's common for God to start you off between the 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. watch. Okay, so what's the other marker? The other marker is that you think on a bloodline or generational level, like you have a legacy mindset. So you know how we now live and people just think of themselves and maybe their children, and that's it. One of those things is that legacy mindset that you have is you're so concerned about generations. You're concerned about who is going to come after you, like after your children, the kind of life they're going to live. You're concerned about who came before you, what did they do, what did they dabble into, what did they miss out maybe we were supposed to get as a family, what mantles, what anointings, what giftings are we supposed to be functioning on as a family, like on a family level that we are not functioning in? Like, you're just concerned about those things. Like, even when you are thinking of money, you are thinking of, okay, how much money can I make, to sustain my children, my children's children, their children. You're thinking on a generational level. You're thinking about building generational wealth instead of just generating incomes for yourself. You're thinking of generational homes instead of just a home for yourself. You're thinking about even those people that are not necessarily your immediate family, but like, Lord, how can we raise better families in this earth? Like, it becomes such a concern for you. Family is a concern. Family is a burden to you. Like, you are just settled with this desire to see families prosper in this earth. You're settled with that burden to see healthy marriages, healthy families, and it's a burden to you. You're concerned about how children are raised. Like, I have my best friend, she has kids. And I'm always like on her case, in the sense of like, not on a case, like I'm just like, if I find something that I feel is beneficial to her kids, I'm putting it on her. Like, I'm just sliding it in her view. Like, yo, I think your kids will enjoy this. I think this will help in your baby's spiritual growth. Are you doing this? Are you praying with your babies? Are you teaching them to read the Bible? Like, it's such a thing for me that one day I just found myself sitting and being like, Lord, but why? How? Not that I love my best friend's babies. They're practically my babies as well. But I'm just like, just that thing where just like, you feel like sometimes you're pushy. You're like, am I pushing too much? Am I being overly concerned? But it just comes with territory, okay? Because remember, you're called to steward the blueprint of God as it regards to families. So you're concerned about that. Like, it's such a thing to you. It's a burden to you because it becomes like a desire that God put on you. So you can't help but express that concern or that passion or that interest whenever it comes. So again, it's not all about you for you. What you do, you want to do such that it benefits families in the earth, such that it benefits your family, right? Like, that legacy mindset can also be a huge marker. And I think the last one I'm going to talk about, is it the last one? Hold on, guys. Let me look at my notes. Okay, it's not the last one, but the second from last one is you're very protective. I don't mean possessive. You are protective. Okay, you are just protective of anybody who comes around you, whom you love. Let me put it that way. Your loved ones. You're very protective of your loved ones. Your family, yes, your friends, and anything that concerns you, like you feel like you have that responsibility to protect them. And I don't, again, not not overly protective, but protective in the sense that people might see your protectiveness and see it as weird in a way. So let's say you have your circle of best friends, right? Your close friends, your Daniel friends. And maybe they tell you, oh, they went this place, they saw someone and they were jilly jellying and whatever. And then maybe you end up meeting that person or those people. Your question, the first thing that comes in your mind is, who sent you? Who are you? Why in this season? Why in this hour? Which spiritual realm are you operating from? Who's your God? You know, like, like those are things that are going on in your head. It's almost like, because you are a guardian, like you are a sentinel as a watchman, right? You understand that as well, because as a watchman, you're also a gatekeeper. We should talk about that at some point. As a watchman, you're also a gatekeeper. So you really are concerned with what comes in, what comes out, who comes in, who comes out. Like, it's part of your duty to guard your bloodline, right? So for covenants, maybe that have been in your family, godly covenants, you guard those, you safeguard those because you want to keep them in your family. At the same time, you are watching out for what is not allowed to enter the bloodline. So naturally, you are a gatekeeper, and that can come out even in your day to day. That makes you just protective, okay? Because you're a security guard, basically. So you are concerned about who comes in or what comes in. It's your responsibility to vet what is coming in or who is coming in. I don't mean jealousy. Because that's a demonic spirit. I don't mean jealousy. I mean, there's a healthy jealousy, because God is a jealous God. There's a healthy aspect to jealousy in God. But I'm not talking about that jealousy or envy that you don't want other people around your people. No. It's just a questioning, just like when you want to enter like a federal building or things like that, you need to have like a security pass. Maybe even when you make an appointment, they ask you questions. What's your business here? Who are you seeing? How long are you going to be here? All those things. And they give you a security pass if they see that you're okay to come in. So that's kind of how you just function, in that sense of you are just protective of the people you love. Like, you really are just, that your natural inclination is just to be protective, not in the sense of, like keeping them from making other connections outside of you, no, but in the sense of you kind of feel responsible for their welfare or their well-being as well, to a healthy degree, because at the end of the day, everybody is responsible for their decisions and who they allow in, right, in their lives. But naturally, you, because you love this person and all of that, that protectiveness, because of your mantle, because of your design, it can come out in that manner, right? Hope that makes sense, or hope that makes sense. Again, not jealousy, not possessiveness, not controlling. Okay. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is that you have a high regard for divine order, and disorder or chaos moves you into action. It moves you into doing something about it. It puts you in a position where you're like, what can be done to put order back? Okay. So one of the ways that this can express itself, because of course, the disorder you're going to see in your bloodline, you are going to want to do something about it. You're going to be moved maybe into finding out what maybe somebody did in your bloodline for the devil to have like a legal hold on your whole generation and all of that. But in your day to day, like, it's almost like your OCD, if you know. What I mean, it's almost like you're OCD. You just don't like disorder. Where there's disorder, you are not comfortable, and again, you want to do something about it. So, for example, I remember how God started training me on this. So, I would be like, whenever I would go to the gym, all right, and I would enter the gym, and you know how people sometimes when they use the gym, they just leave weights everywhere. They don't unrack weights maybe from the Smith machine or whatever. God would be like, rearrange that, pick it up. And if I just see maybe 25-pound dumbbells, where 5-pound dumbbells are supposed to be, God would be like, correct that. And sometimes I'll just be like, do I work here? What is my own? I just came to work out and leave. I beg. But God would insist, because I would not even be able to work out properly until I've actually done that. Or I remember one time I was walking in the hallway of my building, and I saw somebody had dropped like a piece of paper in the hallway. And just as I was approaching it, God was like, that's not supposed to be there, pick it up. God, nah. What is this one? But that's just how it is. Like, where there's even disorder, you want to do something about it. And again, I don't mean like, oh, just because you're a clean person, then you're automatically a Watchman Prophet. No, I don't mean that. It just like it comes from a place of you have acknowledgement for divine order. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because part of what moves you into action is that knowledge that things are not supposed to be this way. Things are supposed to be a certain way. So you want things to be that certain way. And also, as a Watchman Prophet, you carry the blueprints of God. Like, you understand the original design of God for something. And because you've seen that pattern, that godly pattern God desires to institute, you want things that way. That's the way things are supposed to be. That's the way things are supposed to be arranged. So it's almost like what you've seen, what God has shown you now in the spirit. You want to bring it down. You want that order. Right. In Ezekiel 43, when the glory of the Lord is returning to the temple, the latter verses, I'm forgetting, but it's the last, I don't know, maybe 6 or so verses or 5, God is telling Ezekiel, you know what, this pattern that you have seen, right? Tell it to the children of Israel, and then to those who listen, let them listen and what? Copy this pattern. So there are patterns that you see. You are a steward of the blueprints of God as a Watchman Prophet. That's why it's also an ancient office, like an ancient path kind of mantle, because it has to do with stewarding and instituting here on this earth the original blueprint of God. So you have high regard and high honor for divine order, like spiritually, as you operate in your office. That's what it is about. So now when it just comes to even your normal day-to-day, you're living how you're living, you don't like disorder. Even in your own work, if you're working, because it now also has to do with an excellent spirit. Like, you have to have an excellent spirit. You have to develop an excellent spirit if you're going to function in the Watchman prophetic mantle, because that excellency, it comes in to bring order. So even in your career, whatever you could be doing, even in your career, how you arrange your own work, your own daily tasks is even telling. You desire organization. You don't like chaos. You don't like chaos, because it does not agree with the very essence of who you are. Okay. So I don't think we can really continue to flog this any further. I hope I have done justice to some of these things. So anyway, like I said, this is not exhaustive, But these are things that you will definitely function in, or these would definitely be markers if you function in this prophetic office, in this watchman prophetic mantle. Again, like I said at the beginning of this video, you can't just say because you are organized, you are a watchman prophet. It can't just be a thing of just because I'm protective, then automatically no. Again, remember, if you are carrying this mantle, all of these things you're going to function in them. It cannot be one without the other. I'm saying if you now start to see some of these markers, especially as they just work together or work hand in hand, or as they are getting highlighted by God Himself, then I'm just saying it's a possibility that the Lord might be calling you to fit into into this mantle, because mind you, you're the one who adjusts to fit the mantle. The mantle does not adjust to fit you. Okay, so anyway, that's the video, guys, for today. Again, we're just still touching on the basics. I'm trying to really just build a foundation before we really get deep into this office, before we start talking about the meat of what all of this involves, and how it blends in, all of those things. But yeah, just the foundation, the basics, as we go on. So yeah, this is the video for today, guys. Hope it helped you in some way or the other. And if you have any questions, you can just put them in the comments down below, and I'll try to answer. Or if you have any contribution or anything you want to say, I'd be happy to hear from you. And yeah, until we meet next week, guys, have a blessed week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.